Great. Thanks very much, Kevin. So as Kevin said, this is a book that was completed as part of my PhD. I'm completing a PhD on farm succession inheritance with Teagasc and UCD. So what I'm going to go through is just a brief overview of what the book is there for, what the contents of the book are, and how they're there to help and support farmers. So really what the book is a workbook style book, and it's there to support farmers through the process of succession and farm transfer. But it focuses strongly on the succession element of that, and I'll explain that in more detail in a minute. The book has a number of self-complete exercises. They're there to get the farmer thinking about the conversation, about starting the discussion on succession and inheritance, and about the different options that are available to them. I suppose a key thing about this guide is that it was developed using a co-creation process, so it's not something that I wrote myself, but it was something that involved consultation with a number of key stakeholders, legal, accounting, banking, farm lobby groups, farmers, young farmers. So there was a number of people involved and consulted when developing this book. So first, and I think most importantly when you're looking at the book, and as I said I'll explain it, is succession and inheritance. So I said it focuses strongly on succession. So succession is defined as the gradual transfer of management, and specifically management from one generation to the next, whereas inheritance is defined as the legal transfer of ownership of the farm assets from one generation to the next. And then the term farm transfer really encompasses both succession and inheritance. So I have focused highly on succession, but there is an element of inheritance in there. So I suppose importantly, if you look at the whole process of succession and inheritance, basically what you want to do is transfer a farm from generation 1 to generation 2. So built into that process is succession and inheritance. But as you can see from the graph, succession probably takes up the highest element of that process through trying to identify a successor, developing a succession plan, starting a succession process, and built into that is communication and policy and extension, whereas inheritance, as I mentioned earlier, is the legal transfer of ownership. So a lot of people here would be dealing specifically maybe with the inheritance and the legal transfer of the ownership. So the book does cover an element of inheritance and the farm transfer, but it does specifically help farmers to work through the succession process. So just to run through what's in the book really, I suppose chapter 1 is first steps. It's clearly stated to the farmers the importance of making a will and why that is very important. But what it does in chapter 1 is it gives the farmer an opportunity to identify at what stage of succession they are at. So by identifying the stage, it then outlines what chapters or where to go in the guide then and how to work through it. And also importantly, it looks at what options are available if the farmer doesn't have a successor. And there are a number of options there, like long-term leasing, non-family partnerships, and they are all listed in that. And again, just the difference between transferring the management and the ownership. And again, it's encouraging farmers to get involved in partnerships and get the younger generation involved in the management of that farm. So chapter 2 then, and another crucial one, is looking at the profile of the farm. So it's basically establishing the basic profile of the farm. A lot of the stuff is similar to the profit monitor data that you might get, and establishing the basic profitability and efficiency figures of the farm. And really this chapter looks at identifying, can the farm support one or two incomes? Does someone need to have a part-time job? Or maybe crucially, if the young farmer is to come in, maybe they can make the farm support two incomes by increasing efficiency or productivity. Part 3 or section 3 of it then is the profile of the family. So again, through easy self-complete exercises, it helps the farmer to identify all the family members, and not just the potential successor or person that they feel should be taking over the farm, but to establish a brief profile of the family, to identify maybe the needs and requirements of each family member. So has the farm to support maybe an education in the future, and to outline, who does require an income from the farm and what do they require, and that can look at maybe, do they require a site or is there other requirements there. And chapter 4 then, and probably this is one of the most crucial chapters, and it's something that came out of the research I've done in my PhD to date, that communication is one of the biggest issues with succession and inheritance. So this chapter is broken up into a few different elements, but looks at communicating, how you communicate and why you communicate. For effective planning, it helps prevent disputes and anger and allows to facilitate family harmony. Also family communication. So it outlines that Succession inheritance should not just be one conversation, but should be a number of conversations that occur over a period of time. So and especially at some key life stages, like when kids are in secondary school, college, or early career, mid-career. So it outlines in this chapter the different points that should be addressed at those different life stages. And also it looks at establishing the fears and requirements of each family member. Then listening again, the crucial value of listening, and important to listen to all views. What the advisor is there for as well, the communication with your agricultural advisor, how they can support you, and key, I suppose, how they can establish the potential of your farm and look at that farm trying to support two incomes. And then mediation. So if you've got to a stage where you can't get to a decision or need some help and support, there is mediation available, and it outlines the role of a mediator and what they do. So chapter 5 then, and this ties in again with the collaborative arrangements. The ideal succession scenario is a partnership. So this chapter is identifying what management role the young farmer already has on the farm and what management role the farmer has on that farm, because a lot of young farmers are farming away, but they don't know that maybe by registering calves they do actually have a management role. So it's trying to clarify what role they have and put a structure on that, and then to see where you go from there on. So to see if you can climb the ladder of responsibility, increase your management role on the farm, and maybe that there is some incentive for this. Let it be an incentive of wage, incentive of a site, or maybe an incentive of some more livestock on the farm. So it does, as I said, it's specifically the ideal succession scenario is partnership, and it does identify the other options there. So then the final two chapters, again, what's the next steps if you've got to that stage? So if you've gone through the process of succession, if you've sat down, if you've had the discussion, if you've started to come up with a plan, that you make a will. And again, that's crucial, that's addressed throughout the book, but that you actually sit down now and put a plan in place and start to enact that plan. And I suppose another crucial thing, if you've got to that stage, you've got the mediation, you've got the help and support, but you still can't get to a successful scenario or a successful outcome, that there is other options available. They're probably not nice options, but there is options available for that as well. And then finally, the farm transfer element. So farmers find it very confusing when they do decide to transfer their farm, who to go to first, and what is the exact role of the accountants, the solicitors, the auctioneer, the bank, their Teagasc advisor, a mediator, their family members. So this outlines what are the exact roles and responsibilities of each person and each professional involved in that process, and in order of priority, who should go to first. So the aim is that it's supposed to support the farmer and help them clarify the issues and help them make the whole process a bit easier. And then there's just a handy name and contact details page for professionals. So finally, when you've got to that stage, there's a detachable farm succession plan. So throughout the book, they can fill out a number of exercises. They can be copied back into the farm succession plan at the back. This is a detachable document that can be taken out and photocopied, and copies given to each member of the family who are involved in the process and the professionals. So again, this provides the farmer with his plan for the future and plan for the farm for the future. So that's my presentation. I'll be welcome to answer any questions, and I'll be around for the afternoon if anyone has any other questions. Thank you.